Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be going over Dodge's all-new fully electric muscle car. In the first part of this video we're going to be going over the information that we know, then we're going to get into a little bit of speculation, whether or not this car actually matters, and then we'll finish things off with whether or not you should look into purchasing one. And with all that being said, let's get straight into the video. All right, let's talk about this all-new fully electric Dodge muscle car. So first off, if you guys don't know, Stellantis just released plans for a bunch of fully electric vehicles the other day, and it was just plans for a bunch of brands they have under their wing. Dodge happens to be one of these brands. And so if you guys don't know, the basic plan is to release a bunch of fully electric vehicles by 2024, and then to have most of their vehicle sales be fully electric by 2030. And again, that's just kind of the general plan. Now, in terms of the styling on this new Dodge muscle car, they're still going to do kind of like the retro theme with it, from at least what we can see with the teaser images. So just like the Challenger and the Charger, more so with the Challenger side of things, it's going to be retro themed. Now, aside from that, there's a huge change with this car, and the big change is it's being built off of a fully electric platform that is all-wheel drive. So up to this point, unless you got a V6, you really couldn't get an all-wheel drive Challenger or Charger. Yes, there was a point in time where you could get the 5.7 Hemi with all-wheel drive, but in the newest versions, you only get the V6 with all-wheel drive. Whereas this is going to be all-wheel drive, it sounds like, across the entire lineup. So that's a huge departure from what we get right now with our big supercharged V8 rear-wheel drive Hellcats. So yeah, definitely interesting. So aside from it being all-wheel drive, they're shooting for a range of about 500 miles. It seems like that's just the magic number for EVs. They're all like, yep, 500 miles, 500 miles. But the range on the lower-end models will probably be around 300 miles, and then on the higher-end models, it'll be about 500 miles. And then in terms of power outputs, we don't have anything confirmed, but apparently they're going to be shooting for at least 800, if not like 900 to 1,000 horsepower. So yeah, pretty crazy, right? They have to do at least 800 because the Hellcat Red Eye right now has almost 800 horsepower. So they've got to at least beat that by a little bit. And then also with the teaser video, it was doing kind of like all-wheel drive burnouts, and so that was kind of like another hint that yes, it's not only on an all-wheel drive platform, but yes, it will for sure have all-wheel drive, which, I mean, some of you might like that, some of you might not. I'm personally okay with all-wheel drive, right? Because I like the grip, but I understand a lot of people, the reason why they buy a Hellcat is so that they can do crazy burnouts and so they can have tons of tail-happy rear-wheel drive fun, and, well, this would pretty much be getting rid of it. Now, is this going to fully get rid of the Challenger and the Charger? I'll get into that later within this video, but that's a really important question. And then aside from that, the other thing is we need to make some assumptions about this car. So first off, we have the retro styling. And so again, we can assume that, yep, they'll probably release this and it'll probably look like a Challenger, what we have right now, but just a little bit more futuristic, right? Maybe sharper LEDs and all that kind of stuff. And then interior-wise, right, it'll just be techier than what we have right now. They haven't released a whole lot, but I mean, it's pretty safe to make that assumption at this point. Aside from that, right, there's really not a whole lot we can go off of just based on that information, and so I would expect us to get a little bit more info in the next few months or maybe the next year or so, but that's pretty much what we know so far. And I mean, there's not really a whole lot I can make assumption-wise other than the stuff that I said earlier, where it'll probably have at least 800 plus horsepower, and then it will definitely, you know, have kind of like a retro exterior, and then they'll probably pay homage to the retro theme in the interior. Like, it'll be techy, but then it'll probably also have like retro stuff in the interior as well. But that's pretty much what we know so far. So let's get into whether or not this car is important and if it's going to replace the Challenger and the Charger. First off, on the level of importance, I think this is vastly important because this is a huge departure for Dodge, right? Dodge is known for horrible gas mileage, loud, fast, rear-wheel drive cars that do crazy burnouts, and this is an EV, so it's going to be quiet, right? It's going to be all-wheel drive. It'll still be fast, but it's not going to be loud, obviously. And so, yeah, it's a huge departure, and I mean, it's just kind of where the industry is going. And so, yeah, it's pretty crazy. But I think that this will also just be really important for the EV segment, because I'm sure Dodge is going to be very creative with still making this feel like a muscle car. I mean, obviously they're limited by the fact that it's fully electric, but I think they'll do a bunch to still make it have that muscle car feel. And Dodge is really the only manufacturer that still builds builds a true muscle car, because the Mustang and the Camaro have kind of turned into a mishmash of like muscle slash sports car type deal, whereas the Challenger is still a true muscle car, right? It's got a big V8 with some of the packages, right? You can get it with a V6, but let's just forget about that for now. It's got a big V8, rear-wheel drive, it's heavy, it doesn't handle that well, and it doesn't care, right? It's just about being loud, obnoxious, fast in a straight line, and, you know, tail happy, right? And again, so yeah, this is a huge departure, and that's why it's important, is because it's a big change with what we're used to. Now, is it going to replace the Challenger and the Charger? We don't have any confirmed information, but here's what I think is going to happen. I think in 2024, when this is released, right, and it'll probably be released late 2023, early 2024, I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a choice between buying this fully electric muscle car or a Challenger or Charger. But then I think they're slowly going to phase out the Challenger and Charger, at least the gas powertrains, and I think they'll do a bottom-up effect. At least that's what I think will happen. But obviously we have a bunch of emissions restrictions that are coming into play, and so that might make it so they have to do a top-down effect where they get rid of the, you know, big powertrains first, and then they'll get rid of the smaller ones. But I think in an ideal world, they'll probably get rid of the smaller powertrains first, just because, right, people that have a V6 Challenger will probably be more open to getting an electric Challenger versus people that have a Hellcat, right? They're not going to be as apt to switch over. So I think that they'll kind of, at least if they can, right, in an ideal world, they'll like get rid of the V6, then they'll get rid of the 5.7 Hemi, then they'll get rid of the 6.4 Hemi, and then they'll get rid of the Hellcat engine, and they'll slowly do that up to 2030, and then probably by 2030, right, we will no longer have gas-powered muscle cars from Dodge. It'll be all electric. The one thing that I think that they should do is they should build a rear-wheel drive variant, because, you know, obviously it's a huge departure for people to go from a supercharged V8 or a naturally aspirated V8 to an electric car. Asking them to do that and go for all-wheel drive, I think it's going to be a little bit of a stretch, unless they have a system where you can disconnect the front axle or turn off the, right, it's an electric car, so actually you wouldn't have to do that. You just have to turn off the front motors. Maybe they'll have like a drive mode where the front motors don't send any power to the front wheels, and then you only get power from the rear wheels. That would be pretty cool. We'll see exactly what they end up doing in terms of the whole system. But I think they should do a rear-wheel drive variant, because then it'll still hurt for a lot of people because they want the noise and they want the drama and all that kind of stuff. But I think that that'll make it a little bit easier to swallow, I suppose. But it's still definitely going to be a difficult thing for most people that buy that type of car. Now, should you look into buying this or not? And it's really just going to depend on exactly what you're looking for. So if you're just looking for all-out performance, then this car is going to be great, because we know at this point that electric cars destroy gas cars in 0 to 60 and, you know, in quarter miles at this point, frankly. And so if you're looking for like the best, highest performance car that's going to be really repeatable, this will be great. But if you still want the drama, then this car probably isn't going to provide that. Again, we'll see exactly what Dodge does, but the fact that it's going to be all-wheel drive means that you're not going to have the crazy tail-happy burnout action. It's probably going to be just like what you experienced with Tesla, where, right, you floor it, you get the instant power and torque, and it's crazy in a straight line, but you can't do much else with it, right? Obviously, with the lower center of gravity, though, with electric cars, I guess it'll handle a little bit better, but again, the Hellcats have never been about the handling. They've been about the drama, and they've been about the, you know, the loud noise you get from the supercharger and the exhaust and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I think it'll just kind of be depending what you're looking for. So again, if you're looking for all-out performance, this will probably be the car to go for, because the all-wheel drive grip will mean that you'll actually be able to use the power, and the instant torque and horsepower from the electric motors means that the acceleration is going to be ridiculous. I mean, I've heard from some sources saying that this will have a 0 to 60 of like 2 seconds or something like that. So substantially quicker than what you can get with a Hellcat, especially in the real world. Like, you see the 0 to 60 times on the Hellcats of like 3 something, but in the real world, because you can't get any grip, your 0 to 60 is like high 3s, low 4s, like real, seriously, and sometimes even slower than that. Like with my TRX, I have beat so many Hellcats in a race just because they just are spinning through, right? They can't get traction. And so this, having all-wheel drive, having that instant torque, it'll, you know, right, it'll be a lot more repeatable in the real world. So it just depends on what you're looking for. Hopefully that helps you guys out. But yeah, that's going to cap things off for today's video. I want you guys to let me know what you think about this new fully electric muscle car from Dodge. If you think it's sacrilege or if you're really excited for it. But yeah, If you're stopping for the first time, I'd really appreciate if you'd subscribe, comment down below what you think, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.